Welcome to Elgin Movie Watchers podcast. I'm Chuck Slatkin, and I'm here with my co-host, Steve Gould. Hey, Steve.
Hi, Chuck. It's good hearing you, and I guess we'll be seeing you too now, right?
Yes, on
Okay.
YouTube. Yes, there is a
On YouTube.
Elgin
Yes.
Movie Watchers YouTube channel where you'll be able to go and see some things. Right now, if you haven't seen it, you can go and see our special tribute to Andrew Makowski.
Or Cinema City Maven.
That's it.
So Chuck, I think it would help people that are wondering what the hell's going on, Elgin and movie watchers. How about, can you give our listeners and or viewers like a frame of reference how we got into this?
Okay, well, just to start at the beginning, the Elgin Theater, Elgin Cinema, was located at 8th Avenue and 19th Street in New York City.
Which is now the Joyce.
And as part of that repertory, underground, experimental, whatever all it was, of theater, we had a program, printed program, where people could get and see the films for the month or for the whole summer or whatever it was. And then after a while, we evolved it into having some things written about the movies, articles, and whatever. And because of the old Elgin marbles, we referred to it as the Elgin marble, actually, when it first came out. And then after a while, as we got more and more people to write for it, people reading it, we got a mailing permit. We're sending it out in the mail. It was much more than just the Elgin program. It was a
publication.
Yeah, Marble Film News and Comment. So we had information about what was playing at theaters, yes, but also articles written about film from numerous contributors. So that,
and we also did, if I recall correctly, occasionally we had publishing companies that sent us books, and we would do book reviews about cinema books.
That's right. That is the case. So it was, it was of the Elgin, from the Elgin, but it became its own independent publication, Marble Film News and Comment. And as that was continuing and the Elgin was continuing, we began to see what was happening in cable television, and eventually thinking either maybe there would be some future there for us, or at least it was an avenue to have more expression about the Elgin-related stuff and films, we got into the idea of maybe, we would do something on public access TV. And when cable television started in New York City, or more correctly in Manhattan, to get the franchises, the companies had to provide, to a certain extent, fund public access TV, where people could come and do original programming on public access on a first come first
channels, a couple of channels for public access people, right?
Right. Well, yeah, it was channels C and D originally.
Right.
And at that time, so as we began to explore it, and as Steve reminded me, a woman who was actually a friend of mine, or someone I got to know through working in publicity, Jean Herman, she was filling in as the guest host on her friend's cable TV show, public access show, Suki Leads, and her show was about animals and other living things.
Right.
And if I recall correctly, I know when I was on as a guest with Jean Herman, And on one of the appearances, Andrew Makowski appeared with me, and we both talked about the upcoming movie watch show that we were going to do. And that was the idea that we came up with, not to call it the Elgin, but to have it as its own entity. And we decided
Right.
that Movie Watch would be a weekly video magazine having to do with film, movies, the business, whatever it was.
Everything film.
And that was the original idea. And when we first started doing it, we did it at the studio on 23rd Street that was run by Steve's good friend, Jim Claddock. And it was kind of like a typical
Black and white.
public access stuff. We were able to get our feet wet, so to speak, with the Movie Watch program. And then we started doing it on a regular basis, a half hour, once a week. And there'd be repeats of it run. And we had some of the elements of what we originally thought the movie watch program could be, which included instant review. Steve, I don't remember who came up with that idea, but
well, I think what we were hoping was that we would be able to use the immediacy of video, unlike print, to really give people insight immediately into what was happening. And we kicked around that idea of instant review because it was an opening day of a movie, and we could have someone interview people waiting online, because you'd say, what the hell are they waiting on lines for? But we ask them, not that way, but we ask them about, the expectations and things. And then as a follow-up, we talk to people coming out to see if, like expectations were lived up to. So I think that's a very integral thing that we were doing there because of the immediacy of video.
Right. So we'd have our crew there with an interviewer, but basically we try and get a sense of, and sometimes even ask, what drew people to see that film. It has something to do with the advertising, they know the director or whatever. And then when people came out, as soon as they walked out, there was our reporter there asking what they thought of the movie. And that was the real instant review. People coming out of the film and just letting us know, what they thought of a particular film.
You're here to see New York, New York. Taxi driver. Okay. Why did you choose this film in particular?
Why did we choose this film? My cousin went to see it, and she said she enjoyed it very much. It was very entertaining.
Hi there. Hi, you people just seen New York, New York?
Yes.
Did you like it?
I loved it.
And that quickly became a regular part of the Movie Watch program. And then we also had, more traditional reviews, where we'd have someone doing a complete, a review of a film they had seen,
in studio.
In studio.
Yeah. But I think we have to also let people know, because somebody listening or watching this would say, what the hell is the big deal? Well, this is being done in 1976. So it wasn't that people were going out with either their iPhones or even a small camera at the end of a Broadway show and taking clicks on people talking about it and then turning it into, a 60-second spot. Nothing like that was ever done. We were really in the vanguard of the whole instant review concept.
Right, and there were no shows like Entertainment Tonight or any of these entertainment shows that came on. And basically, maybe as part of the local news, there might have been a short movie review that people did. But even for people seeing any discussions of film, because we would cover events. We would go and send our crew to events having to do with an opening of film, parties and whatever, and bringing that to people on a regular basis. So we had the instant review, We had traditional film reviews. We had people covering events having to do with film. And of
Right.
course, we had Andrew's Mikowski's Cinema City segment, where Andrew would talk about his recommendations for films that were showing in the New York area for the upcoming week, and putting his old spin on it as well. And then eventually, as we expanded the show from the half hour into the hour and got into a better facility, which was the Automation House facility on the Upper East Side that had a state-of-the-art
Oh, incredible.
Studio where we could
Full,
really,
full color, everything was great.
it's like 3-camera shoot, and really top-notch stuff that we really felt even more comfortable getting guests to come on the show that we would interview. So we would have crews that would go out if we had to cover events, do interviews with people that couldn't come to the studio. Our only opportunity was to get them when they were doing promo for a film or something.
At
So
a
I know-
hotel that they were at
Right.
or something like that.
So under those circumstances, that's how I interviewed Richard Pryor and a number of people like that. And then Nancy Keller would go out and cover events, do interviews with people, Deborah Gordon. And so that became a part of the Movie Watch show. So in a Movie Watch hour show, we would have all of these elements there.
But I also think that we should point out to people who are now used to hearing about a movie or something like that, and they get a 90-second blip about it. What we were able to do, whether it was you, as you say, when you were interviewing Pryor, or whether it was in studio when we were interviewing Robert Altman, or when Nancy was interviewing Ray Sharkey and things like that. These were really in-depth interviews. It wasn't like, we knocked something off in 2 or 3 minutes. People were able to get an incredible sense of what was going on in that individual's life with that film, with his or her history. And that was something that I think was very powerful with Movie Watch as well.
And that's also part of what the appeal was for people who were doing publicity, promoting people coming into town or whatever, because, well, maybe they'd score something big and get a 3-minute segment on the Tonight Show, but most likely they weren't. They do some newspaper interviews. But here was Movie Watch, a venue that they could send the director, the actor, the writer to this venue and actually count on the fact of getting a serious discussion of their work, not limited to just 2 or 3 minutes, as Steve was saying, but actually getting in depth, and also something that was going to be on quickly. It was going to be on that next week and be shown. So here was something that they could point to and say, you're getting this exposure, and it's immediate and it's right there. Thanks to the good work of John Abel and people who lined up those guests. It was something that, in a sense, it was like, how the hell did we get to that place so quickly, where we were part of the New York City scene and doing these phenomenal interviews and coverage of events. Not everything that we tried was successful, but some of them really gave us more than we were counting on getting.
Also, Chuck, we one of the other firsts that I would say, because certainly I think New York press agents weren't necessarily thinking of a film crew like us showing up, but when Sidney Lumet did The Wiz, there was no other film crew there. We were the first that really ever covered a press conference that was doing all of the BS about an upcoming film and things. And I think they were, if I remember correctly, pretty surprised that they were getting video coverage. Is that
Well,
ring
yeah,
a bell?
but I mean, yeah, but we would usually have to let them know that we were coming. But
Yeah.
you're 100% correct. Our crew was the only crew, and then we commented on an earlier episode about what the opening of the Wiz and the party at the Studio 54.
Oh yeah.
We would been cleared to cover it, and then when Steve Rubel somehow saw the light in the camera, and he stopped us from doing that. But we still got whatever interviews we could, and luckily, over the past period of time, we've been able to save a lot of this stuff and digitize it before it all wasted away. But it was amazing because we started doing this in '76, and we did it into the beginning of 78. And while we may have taken some time off or whatever, we were cranking out these things pretty regularly.
Yeah, a 1 hour weekly show.
And gave opportunity to a lot of people to have what was important to them covered on Movie Watch. And in a sense, looking back, it's almost, it's like sad that it didn't continue, but I'm very happy that we've managed to be able to salvage what we've been able to salvage and get some of this stuff up on Elgin Movie Watch's podcast and YouTube, so that people will be able to see some elements, and maybe, who knows, down the road we'll put this all together into something that people will be able to see
in a movie theater
in context. Yeah, that would be a really good. But
wouldn't that be amazing?
And so it's extraordinary. So when we moved to a movie watch, move Movie Watch to the Automation House, the very first show we did there, that's the one where we had Professor Irwin Corey as the guest, and that was a lot of fun. He wasn't the only comedic person that we had over the years, but it was interesting.
Well, it was nice too, because he's a formal guy. He's always dressed in a tuxedo
and sneakers.
And sneakers, yeah. So I mean, and unfortunately, we would have been able to have him live on the podcast, but he decided to check out at the age of 102? Last year.
So so it was just extraordinary. Some of the people that we had on the show, and how they responded to it, and hopefully people will be able to see parts or elements of that as we did what we did on a weekly basis. I remember. Now I'm going to forget the name of the movie. It was the Cut.
What are we talking about?
It was the movie that came out around the same time of Star Wars, but it was that another fantasy big
Close Encounters.
That's it. Thank you.
Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Going to cover that opening.
Yeah.
Doing all the interviews, and if I recall, I haven't seen this yet on tape, but they gave me a swag bag of all the gifts they were giving out to everybody they were trying to win over to the film, and I brought the bag on camera and went through what they gave me on Movie Watch. So that was that was interesting. But
well, I think we should also mention, because it'll be like you talked about Irwin in the initial show, but also, even though we were not in a sense doing regular weekly shows by mid 78, the contacts that we had made within the industry still lingered, and I remember them contacting us, and somebody who is normally reticent about doing interviews is the late Bernardo Bertolucci. And the last thing that actually was a Movie Watch Last Century Presents thing was your lengthy interview with Bernardo Bertolucci about his film 1900.
Yes.
So that's an incredible breadth to go through in a short time. Erwin Cody to Bertolucci.
To Bertolucci, yes. We came up with some strange double bills at the Elgin.
That was one of them.
So anyway, I just think that, give people a sense of, what will be coming up on some future Elgin Movie Watcher podcasts and what we'll have for them on YouTube. And we're going to try and do some more special presentations like we did for Andrew with some of the other people we were involved with at the Elgin Movie Watch and Marvel Film News. And
wasn't there something Deborah did? She did a remote. I'm saying this, it's 9/12 now, and yesterday was 9/11, the 20th anniversary. But they did a remake of King Kong, which was a Dino De Laurentiis, and it took place at the World Trade Center, and we did a remote with Chuck's co-host, Deborah Gordon, at the World Trade Center. So we were always trying to stay on top of what was going on and being very, very current. Yeah, we did something on that. And somebody who is one of my all-time favorites, people would say, boy, you had a whole host of people. And I can remember a really great interview with none other than himself, Malachi McCourt. So there's a lot of terrific people. And I think you got some of the best, I wouldn't say dialogue, but the best interview that I think Frank Rich ever gave when you two were talking, who was at that time a movie critic for the New York Times.
Right.
I mean, we were very professional when we approached things. We did have somebody who was in the business, a makeup artist who took care of all of the makeup for on-camera people. We had somebody who would work on not full costumes, but on dress for people and things like that. So we were a full-service production company.
And we had good lighting people and sound people and direction and the 3-camera shoot.
Yeah.
4th camera for titles. I mean, it was something. So anyway, I think we've more or less
covered the waterfront
for this one, at least for Elgin Movie Watchers podcast, YouTube number 1A on a little bit of the history of Movie Watch.
Yeah.
How it happened, how it evolved, and the why after all these years was saying, hey, let's keep this sucker alive and see some of the value we got out of it.
We should have people follow us on Twitter at Elgin Movie, Instagram at Elgin Movie Watchers, Facebook at Elgin Movie Watchers Podcast. And we would love to hear from you because that will really help us in getting any future programs set up. So contact us at elginmoviewatchers@gmail.com. And certainly you can go to YouTube, and we have a site there, Elgin Movie Watchers.
And we should have a new podcast about every week, and hopefully on YouTube as well. So thanks everybody for joining us, and
keep those postcards coming.
And we'll look forward to seeing you on the next episode of Elgin Movie Watchers podcast.
Take care, Chuck.
Take care, Steve.